Morning, all. All right, so 12 games tonight in the NHL because it's Tuesday. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays are the busy days from here on the rest of the season. And yeah, we're back into kind of the November type schedule. 5 games starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, so manageable. Starting with the Montreal Canadiens and the Pittsburgh Penguins. You'll also notice that the Akbar magnet is back, and I will be explaining that when we get to it. So Montreal's won both meetings with Pittsburgh. That's why there's no Akbar magnet there. Plus, Montreal coming off of a rough loss last night against Colorado. Now they get to fly to Pittsburgh. This is as close to a layup as you're going to get if you're Pittsburgh. So Montreal won the first 2 meetings both in overtime on October 17th, 3-2, and on November 12th, 5-4. For Montreal, they're 26, 35, and 6 overall. Their last 10 games, they're 2-6-2 away from home. They're 12, 18, and 3. They're 1 point behind Philadelphia in the standings. They're 11 points ahead of Columbus. So Columbus, remember, is 32nd overall in the league, so they're 11 points clear of that spot. For Pittsburgh, they're 34, 22, and 10. Their last 10 games, they're 7, 2, and 1. At home, they're 19, 9, and 5. 6 points now behind the Rangers. Remember, they got 2 more meetings with the Rangers before the end of the week, one on Thursday and one on Saturday. And they're 2 points ahead of the New York Islanders, who are playing tonight as well. We'll see how that one goes because, again, it feels like it should be a trap game. And yeah, so 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between Tampa Bay and the New Jersey Devils. This is the first of 3 meetings. These teams are going to get to know each other this week. They'll meet again on March the 16th as well as March the 19th. Tampa Bay 39, 22, and 6 overall. Their last 10 games, they're 3, 5, and 2. Away from home, they're 15, 16, and 1, so they're below NHL 500 away from home. They're 4 points behind Toronto for second place in the division. They're 11 points clear of Florida. On the New Jersey side, 44, 16, and 6 is their overall record. They're 7, 2, and 1 in their last 10 games. At home, they're 19, 12, and 2. They're tied with Carolina atop the Metro, and they're 10 points clear of the New York Rangers. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between Vegas and Philly. So, Vegas won the first matchup December the 9th in overtime 2-1. This is your Akbar magnet. This has existed on this channel for a long time. I haven't been using them, but I figured I would use a few of them today because we're at that time of year where I think, there's probably going to be some trap games. Now, what that means is that for Vegas, coming off of some big wins recently, maybe Philadelphia takes them a little bit lightly. Maybe Philadelphia has a really good game. They're kind of due for one. So looking at their records, they're opposite. It's possible we get an upset win here for Philly. But for Vegas, they're 41, 20, and 6. As I stated in my video yesterday, they play very well against the East. They're 7, 2, and 1 in their last 10 and 27 and 5 away from home. They're 3 points ahead of LA for the top spot in the division. So in the event they win and LA loses, that becomes either a 4 or a 5-point lead. So Vegas, very likely to win the division. On the Philadelphia side, 24, 31, and 11 is their record. They're 2, 7, and 1 over their last 10. At home, they're 12, 15, and 4. They're 10 points behind Detroit, and they are 1 point ahead of the Montreal Canadiens. So we'll see how things go with that one because, again, it does feel like that could be a letdown game for Vegas. It just feels like that. And then I've got right here, this is an animated, for anybody who can't see because they're on their phone. So one of the 7 dwarves right there, all dreamy looking. Because this game's going to be animated. Yes, this game's going to be... You're going to be able to watch live action, don't worry, but there's also going to be an animated version shown in the States that I'll be interested to see the ratings for. So it's Washington and the Rangers. This is the third of 4 meetings. The Rangers have lost both of the first 2. 4-0 on December 27th and 6-3 on February 25th. The fourth and final meeting will not be on an animated channel. It's on April the 2nd. That will be their 4th meeting. For Washington, they're 32, 28, and 7. Their last 10 games are 4, 5, and 1, but they've looked better lately. They've looked a little bit better. Away from home, they're 17, 15, and 3. They're 5 points behind the New York Islanders. They are 1 point ahead of the Ottawa Senators. For the New York Rangers, they're 37, 19, and 10. They're also 4, 5, and 1 in their last 10 games, but it feels like things have started trending in the wrong direction for the Rangers. They're 17, 11, and 4 at home. 17, 11, and 4 at home, and they're 6 points ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, in the event that the Rangers would lose this one, Pittsburgh wins this one, that could become a 4-point difference, and then they have 2 games against each other. So we'll see, whether or not the Rangers and Pittsburgh end up being tied by the end of the week. There is that possibility. It's a faint possibility because I can't see the Rangers losing all those games, but again, They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. And then at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, we have the Winnipeg Jets and the Carolina Hurricanes. On November 21st, Winnipeg wins this matchup at home 4-3. That game was a thriller, and we may see that again tonight. So for Winnipeg, a team that have found some gumption here, and they won both games in Florida. They're now 3-5-2 in their last 10. So remember, the two most recent being wins, there were 1-5-2 in their 8 games before that. Away from home, they're 17-15-1. They're 1 point behind the Edmonton Oilers, who are the number 1 wild card. They're 6 points ahead of Nashville and Calgary when you look at the overall standings. So if they get themselves a win, they jump back past Colorado, and it makes things more difficult for Nashville and Calgary to catch up. On the Carolina side, 43-14-8 for a team that suddenly is having trouble scoring. They're 6-4 in their last 10. At home, they're 23-8-2. They're tied with New Jersey at the top of the division, and they're 10 points ahead of the Rangers. So depending on what happens tonight, the Devils might end up being number 1 in the division. Winnipeg's won a couple of games that wasn't necessarily expected, but that kind of balances things out because they've lost games recently they probably shouldn't have as well. So that could be a really interesting one here in Carolina. Then at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, we've got the Detroit Red Wings and the Nashville Predators. So I'm wearing Nashville because they've actually been playing pretty well. It's interesting because, I mean, the record's good. So Detroit wins the first matchup between these teams on November 23rd, 3-0. For Detroit, they're 30-27-9. Their last 10 games, they're 3-6-1. Away from home, they're 13-15-5. They're 7 points behind the Islanders, and they're 10 points ahead of the Philadelphia Flyers. So Nashville, on the other hand, is 33-24-7. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10, which it always surprises me how good their record is over the last 10 games, because when you're watching Nashville games, it doesn't feel like it should be, especially since they sold at the deadline. Their games are not the most exciting right now. They're tied with Minnesota for trying to make sure people are getting enough sleep at night. At home, they're 16-11-3. They're 6 points behind Winnipeg for that final playoff spot, and they're 10 points ahead of St. Louis. And I'm not saying that to insult the team or anything. Whatever you got to do to win at this time of year, you do it, right? If you got to go out there and play stifling style of hockey, you do that. So for Nashville, I do think they have a very good chance against Detroit, so I'm wearing Nashville. 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. So this is a first. We have a no mercy magnet here because Boston won this one at home 6-1 on November 19th. I've got a trap magnet there too. Boston's 50-10-5. But they were kind of in cruise control in their last game, and I don't know how up they're going to be for a game in Chicago. They're 8-2 over their last 10. They're 23-7-2 away from home. But they're 17 points ahead of Toronto. There is no urgency. No reason for urgency. And to be honest, I'd rather they didn't go out there and hurt themselves trying to win games right now that aren't that important and end up jeopardizing their playoffs. So in Chicago, you have a team that's 22-38-6. They're 3-6-1 over their last 10. As I keep saying, their offense was traded at the deadline to Dallas in the form of Max Domi. At home, they're 13-18-3. They're 4 points behind the Anaheim Ducks, and they're tied with San Jose at the bottom of the West. So again, it feels like this could be the ultimate upset that people say, wow, how did that happen? Or Boston's not playing well, but I could see it. Again, based on their last game against Detroit, I could see this being an upset victory for Chicago. 9 Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, the Edmonton Oilers host the Ottawa Senators. February 11th, Edmonton went into Ottawa and won 6-3. For Ottawa, this is a tough one. They're 33-29-4. They're coming off back-to-back regulation losses against Vancouver and Calgary, both teams below the playoff line. They're now 6-4 in their last 10. Away from home, they're 14-17-2. They are 6 points behind the New York Islanders, and they're 1 point clear of Detroit. And then on the Edmonton side, they're 36-23-8. Their last 10 games, they're also 6-4, but it feels like outside of the game against Toronto, they've been playing pretty well. At home, they're 16-12-5. They're 1 point ahead of Winnipeg. They're 7 points ahead of both Nashville and Calgary. Speaking of Calgary, they play at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific in Arizona. Calgary's won both meetings thus far, and this will be the first meeting of the Ritchie brothers after the Ritchie Switchy. So, I think somebody said that too in the comments on the live stream that day. So, December 5th, Calgary wins 3-2. February 22nd, Calgary wins 6-3. We'll see if they can sweep the season series. They're 24-13 over their last 10. They're 4-4-2. Away from home, they're 14-10-10. It just shocks me to see the 10-10 at the end of that. They're 6 points back of Winnipeg, and they're tied with Nashville where they are, but Nashville does have games in hand. On the Arizona side, they're 24, 32, and 11. They're also 4, 4, and 2 in their last 10. The difference being they're kind of playing above what we would expect right now, whereas Calgary's playing below what we would expect. At home, Arizona's 17, 11, and 3, so that's a decent record. They're 2 points behind Vancouver in the standings, and they're 5 points ahead of Anaheim. So not bad. Arizona, again, playing better than I think any of us had expected, but Andre Tourigny gets the most out of his team. 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific, Dallas and Vancouver. That's right, it's another trap magnet. And I feel okay putting that under a game between two teams I cheer for. So here's the situation. Dallas has won the first 3 games of the road trip. Odds are it's Matt Murray tonight in net because Ottinger played last night. It was a huge, perfect 60-minute game last night. I could totally see them having a bit of a letdown against Vancouver. Vancouver won the first meeting February 27th in overtime because that's usually how things work, 5-4. And March 25th will be the third and final meeting between these teams. I did have an offer for tickets to this game, had to turn it down because look at tonight. So Dallas 37, 17, and 13 is their record, but they're 7, 2, and 1 in their last 10. They're 18, 11, and 5 away from home. They're 3 points ahead of Minnesota at the top of the division, and they're 7 points clear of Colorado at the top of said division. On the Vancouver side, they're 28, 32, and 5, but they're 7, 2, and 1 in their last 10 games. They're playing very well. JT Miller playing just as well right now as he did last year. In fact, I'll go out on a limb and say I think he's playing better because the defensive side of his game has been pretty good as well under Tocchet's system. They're 15, 17, and 1 at home. They are 2 points behind St. Louis. They are 2 points ahead of Arizona. So in the overall standings, of course, they're not making the playoffs, but we keep watching where everybody is in relation to everybody else when it comes to what's going to happen with that lottery. 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific start between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the San Jose Sharks. I'm excited too. So January 21st, Columbus wins this one 5-3. I feel this one's going to go to a shootout, maybe like 15 rounds. While I'm standing here with all the boards done, going, come on, please, just I want to do the recap and I want to go to bed. Anyways, Columbus 20, 38, and 7, and just that the reason I say that is because it's not a game that really matters that much unless you're a Columbus fan and you're like, okay, stay 32nd. So they're 3, 4, and 3 over their last 10. Columbus away from home, they're 7, 18, and 5. They're 11 points behind Montreal. They are well at the bottom of the East. On the San Jose side, they're 19, 36, and 12. It's interesting because San Jose's actually won less games, but they've got 5 extra points in the overtime and shootouts. They're 2, 7, and 1 in their last 10, and at home they are miserably bad. They're 6, 19, and 8. So don't be surprised. There's 7 road wins for Columbus, 6 home wins for San Jose. Yeah, don't be surprised if this one takes a while. Probably like 8-8 going into the shootout. They're tied with Chicago. San Jose is, and they are 3 points ahead of Columbus at the bottom of the league. So Columbus with a win in regulation over San Jose could technically pull themselves within a point of San Jose and Chicago. So there's your race. 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific start between the New York Islanders and the LA Kings. I expect this one to be a more entertaining game than the other one. Although with the Islanders, if they're winning, odds are there's not a lot of scoring chances. There's also not a lot of power plays, and the game gets done fast. So LA, they won the first meeting February 24th at the New York Islanders 3-2. The Islanders 34, 26, and 8 overall over their last 10 games. They're 6, 3, and 1. Away from home, they're 14, 14, and 5. They're 2 points behind the Pittsburgh Penguins in the standings, and they're 3 points ahead of Florida. So Florida not playing tonight, having to watch everybody else play and use those games in hand in the case that they have them. The Islanders don't. The Islanders don't have games in hand on anybody. But at any rate, Florida kind of helpless tonight watching and seeing if they're going to be even further out. So LA 38, 20, and 9 overall. Their last 10 games are 6, 2, and 2. At home, they're 29 and 3. Their home winning streak, their winning streak in general, was broken their last game. Wouldn't be surprised if they started a new one tonight. They're 3 points behind the Vegas Golden Knights in a race that's really been underrated, I think, by a lot of people who want to just push the Pacific aside and say, well, that division's garbage, so we don't care what happens there. The reality is Vegas is playing very well. LA's playing very well, too. And one of those two teams very, very likely to win the division, although Edmonton and Seattle are still in it. Let me know your thoughts and your picks in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.